Hey, what's up, fam? Today's session will be focused on foundation. Now, traditionally, yoga was taught one-on-one, one teacher to one student. However, in this modern age, a teacher is now teaching groups of 20 or 30 plus students. As you can imagine, a lot gets lost here. Today, I'm going to cover many of the common mistakes I see my students make during class, but do not have the time or space to correct them in the moment. These are things I wish I had known sooner in my personal practice. My goal here is to provide you with a solid foundation so that you can practice with more awareness and avoid injury. Let's get started. First and foremost is breath. Ujjayi breath. This is a breathing technique we should aim for throughout the practice. Performed by creating a soft sound in the back of your throat while inhaling and exhaling through the nose. This sound has been described as wind in trees, a distant ocean, or the less poetic Darth Vader from Star Wars. Every breath should be deep and audible, every breath, at least for the first half of the class. Many overlook this first pillar either due to unawareness or shyness, but it is the single most important aspect of vinyasa. It should sound something like this. Getting the full inhale and the full exhale as well. Ujjayi breath. Loud and deep through your nose, building internal heat. The reason dogs pant is to release heat. We want to breathe through our nose throughout the practice. We build heat so that we can sweat, and we sweat to purge toxins. Second is bandhas. Bandhas in yoga refer to a series of internal energy centers in the body we want to engage throughout the practice. First is Mula Bandha. This is your root lock at the very base of your spinal column. Slightly different areas for males and females. For males, it is in between the anus and genitals, while for females, it is near the top of the cervix. If you were urinating and stopped halfway through, think of the muscles you would have to engage. This is referred to as the master key. This is the hardest to engage and takes years to tone. Next is Uddiyana Bandha, essentially your abdominals. Performed by exhaling fully, then drawing the lower belly inward and upward while simultaneously lifting the diaphragm. Primarily utilized during the exhale. Think navel to spine. And we want to keep our core engaged throughout the practice. Third is Jalandhara Bandha. This is your chin lock. Tuck the chin, integrate your jaw back, lengthening the back of your neck. That's subtle. Lastly is Mahabandha, the great lock, engaging all three of these bandhas simultaneously. Mula Bandha, pelvic floor, Uddiyana, core, Jalandhara, chin, all three bandhas, Mahabandha. To be clear, this is a practice. Maintaining Mahabandha takes years to develop, so avoid being discouraged if you're unable to get this right away. Third is Drishti. This is the point of gaze or focus. Each pose has a corresponding Drishti point, and we want to have as few breaks from that focus throughout the practice. This cultivates presence while in a pose, as well as through our transitions. The concentration we develop on our mats helps us focus in our daily lives. I'll give you a demonstration to explain this technique later in this video. Pro tip: when you lose focus during the practice, go back to these first three pillars. Breathe audibly through your nose, that's Ujjayi. Engage your core, that's Bandhas. And focus your gaze, Drishti. Next is the spine. Yoga incorporates all 7 spinal movements. Flexion, forward fold. Extension, back bend. In Sun A, we're warming up front side body, back side body. That's the sagittal plane. Next is lateral movement. That's side to side, still warming up. That's the frontal plane. Next is rotation, the twisting left and right. Once the spine is fully warmed up, then we can get into bigger twisting motions. That's the transverse plane. Lastly is axial extension, the lengthening of your spine. There are two types of length I refer to continuously, and this is one of them. Throughout the practice, we actively elongate the spine, especially when twisting. These movements help decompress the spine, build strength, and improve overall spinal health. Blood flow. Fresh, oxygenated blood throughout the body. Through the practice, as we breathe, fully with intention, our cells are filling up with that oxygen. And as we move through the practice, we are flushing different areas of the body with that fresh blood flow. For example, take your hand and make a fist. When we engage our muscles, we constrict blood flow, and when we release, fresh blood flows. Now you can apply that concept over the whole body, whether that be in a lunge, warrior pose, etc. Additionally, one of the pillars of the practice is getting your head below your heart, getting all that fresh oxygenated blood to the brain. This can help prevent neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. We're doing a whole lot more than simply stretching here. Stress management. Cultivating non-reactivity. We have our sympathetic nervous system, that's our fight or flight. We have our parasympathetic nervous system, that's rest and recovery. We evolved to have a hyperactive fight or flight response because our ancestors' survival depended on being able to respond quickly to a life-threatening situation like a large predator in the wild. That angst you feel when someone cuts you off in traffic or wrongs you at work, that's your SNS, sympathetic, ramping up. These are typically not life-threatening situations, yet the system reacts in the same way as if your life were in danger. So you're still releasing stress hormones like cortisol, adrenaline, and noradrenaline into the system. And if you're running a fight or flight response all the time, then you're taking resources away from your gut and elimination system, away from your immune system, away from your higher brain centers, and putting that energy towards your muscles to fight for your life. That means your memory is affected negatively, your concentration is down, you can't digest food properly, you can't eliminate toxins properly, and your immune system is compromised. By offering a space to confront stress head on and develop a sense of calmness, yoga equips us with the ability to cultivate mental clarity, non-reactivity, and a greater self-control in our daily lives. When we are in a challenging pose, our immediate reaction will probably be to get out of the pose fast. This is our sympathetic fight or flight ramping up. We think to ourselves, this hurts, I can't do this, I'm out of here. In this moment, we have a decision to make. We can either go along with the automatic reaction and come out of the pose, or we can stay in the pose, breathe through our reaction, and in this way rewire and control our stress response. Willing ourselves to breathe deeply while in a challenging pose slowly relaxes us into a parasympathetic state. When we start to recognize our reaction patterns on our yoga mat, it helps us to recognize and slow the reactive cycles in our everyday lives. As above, so below. Yoga helps us to widen the gap between the stress stimuli and our response. In this breath, we have the opportunity to respond in more positive ways rather than simply react. Responding from a place of understanding and love rather than reacting out of fear. Avoiding injury. If you're new to yoga, it's important to be aware of the risk of injury. There's a lot of nuance in correct foot placement and hip positioning, transitions between poses. So let us start with the sequence they call vinyasa. This is repeated throughout the practice. Looks like this. From plank, inhale, exhale, lower halfway down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. That sequence is called vinyasa. A big mistake that I see is elbows going out wide when you drop down. If the elbows go out wide, this compromises the wrists and the shoulders. To prevent that, we want to focus on that external rotation from your shoulders to your elbows, external rotation so that the creases of your elbows face the front of the mat. This ensures your elbows bend back instead of out. Again, one more example. Inhale, shift forward. Exhale, notice the elbows straight back, close to my ribs. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. A few modifications. You could drop to your knees, table. Drop down, still on your knees. You can focus on that chaturanga, just the bend. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Or you could drop to your knees entirely instead of a vinyasa. When someone calls a chaturanga, you could just drop to your knees, table, inhale to cow, and exhale, down dog. Few modifications, always listening to your body. Now let's put that all together. And no need to follow along, you could just watch. Hear my breath. That's Ujjayi. I'll take you through the spinal movements. Inhale, exhale, that's extension, open. Inhale, exhale, lateral movement, side to side. Forward fold, that's flexion. Coming to a neutral table. Inhale, that cow, extension. Exhale, cat, flexion. Inhale to cow, tuck your toes. Exhale, hips high, down dog. Flowing through vinyasa. Inhale, forward to plank. Exhale, lower halfway down, chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Moving through our warrior ones. Warrior one, get that length, get that width. Want to feel challenged in that front lunge. Feel that stretch, find your gaze. Engage your core, bandhas, squeeze. Breath in, breath out. Transitioning to warrior two. Back foot parallel to the back of your mat. Front leg, go for that 90. Embrace that fight or flight here as an opportunity. Now notice my gaze as I flow through this sequence. If it doesn't need to break, reverse warrior, straight line. Triangle, straight line. Keep that focus. Back to reverse warrior. If the gaze doesn't need to break, we want to keep that focus throughout the practice. Breath, bandhas, drishti. Nice. The best way to avoid injury is to practice with presence, moment to moment, here, now. Stay focused inward and continually check in with your body, pose to pose, and really feel the connection between your mind and body, breath to breath. Gratitude for the technology of yoga, and to my lineage of teachers, I am eternally grateful. If you found this video helpful, please share it. Wishing you all the best in your practice. Namaste.